I have my 8-year-old son now. I've had him for now 4 years. Matt's been to every single one of his birthday parties, and I've had to learn how to become a dad before I even had Leia. And Matt was one of those guys that would sit there and give me advice. And, he's sitting there taking care of his nieces, and he'd give me, what they're going through. And we're like, oh, these fucking kids, man, they're driving us nuts. But at the same time, he would, the wisdom that Matt would share or somehow come up with, it's taught me to be, a better man, a better father.
Hey guys, welcome to the West Coast Initiative. I'm your host, Alex Castillo, here with a special tribute episode to our dear friend, my dear old co-host, Killah Matt. This is a special episode. We got together, a very close core group of friends who have stayed really tight-knit with Matt throughout these years after high school, during high school. And, we're going to share the stories, how we met Matt. We share some tears, laughter, all the good stuff, honestly. I hope you guys enjoy. It's a very long one. Currently right now, I'm still deciding to see if it's a 1-part, 2-part. So I'm pre-recording, just trying to get everything, mindset. And, so without further ado, let the talk begin. Hey guys, welcome to the West Coast Initiative. I'm your host, Alex Castillo, and this is a very special episode in a tribute to my fallen comrade, co-host of the show. So many of you have heard him many times on this podcast, our dear friend, Killah Matt. Today we have a lot of friends, close friends, and we're going to share a lot of stories today and maybe share a lot of tears and share special moments that we've had with Matt. Matt has touched everybody in everybody's life that he's talked to, in some sort of way. He's truly been a legend, in my mind. And he's always been a hero of mine since I was, even as a kid, looked up to him of going to parties. He showed me a lot of the scenes and whatnot. I give a lot of props to Matt for what he has done to help me as a person. I wouldn't be here without him as well. This podcast wouldn't be as successful as it is now without him as well, and he's truly going to be dearly missed for sure. So for today's guest, right now, the moment we have our dear friend Lee Smith, Cara Kindred, Isaac Hernandez, Jasmine Pendleton, who has been on the show before, Joshua Hall, and Ashley Majoris. Hi guys, thank you guys for coming on the show. How's everybody doing today? Good.
Hanging in there.
Yeah. Awkward silence. But just to kick off things, we want to start off with Jasmine. Jasmine does have a little bit of time constraint, so we want to start off with Jasmine, of course. And Jasmine, my first question of the night for you, how deep has Matt impacted your life now? From the get-go, from SCPA to the last couple of years that we've hung out with him and whatnot.
Yeah. So I've known Matt for sure over a decade at this point, and I would say his impact on me, they were different in different stages of when I've known Matthew. One of the funny things I can say is, gosh, he was one of the youngest in our class to get a tattoo, which I think was maybe 9th, maybe 10th grade. And he made this huge elaborate story about how he went to go get it, literally spoke to us on the phone about how the tattoo felt when he got it, and came to school without one. So how did he impact me? Don't believe everything you're told. That's the first part. But then later on in life, as you get to know Matt, when he kind of transitioned from Killah to Matthew Hutch, the main, I'll answer your question, but what kind of comes to mind is, I'm sure there's a lot of funny stories that we can all say about Matt, but I'll leave that to you guys. I'm going to that question makes me kind of want to go over 2 times when I was with him for the longest period. I was his date once to an engagement party, and it was just him and I. And it was an engagement party where you ate, people danced, and while people were dancing, we just kind of sat there for like hours and just like deep dived into each other's lives. And that was my first time where I kind of got a backstory of everything that Matt does. And that's not in a bad way. Like, he would tell me this with pride of everything he did for his family and other friends, just so much information that I never knew. And like the one thing I can say about that was just like admirable, like literally a man, you know. And it just, how that impacted me was just like, we can say we're busy, we can say our hands are full, but none of us can compare to what Matt was handling, you know, from work to friends. I mean, he was just as social as we were, but he was just doing so much behind the scenes. And it kind of let me, you know, like, you know, there's so much, you'd be surprised with how much you can do once you have to do it. And I felt like Matt was in that position that not all of us are in, where it's like something that needs to be done, like a mandatory thing. But that really helped me to be like, I can do so much more for so many more people in so many other ways, because I can watch him do it. The other story that I'll mention, just to piggyback off that, was before COVID, maybe 2 years ago, Ashley, who's in here, and we were going to Vegas. And I think it was just a conversation of Matt also going to Vegas, but he was going just to hang out with Aunt Cookie and Aunt Candy. And he said, you know what? I can drive you guys there. She got an extra room. If you want to come with. And we said, okay, like we don't need a hotel this time. And so we went with him, and that was a 6-hour car ride, and it was just a great time. And we went to Aunt Cookie and Aunt Candy's house. We stayed downstairs. He would take us to the club, drop us off. In the morning, we'd have breakfast with his aunt. They'd ask us how our night went. We just look the other way and say it was well. And that's just what it was. But that also speaks to his character. You know, the party scene wasn't even in Matt's peripheral on that trip. All he wanted to do was stay at that house, chill with his aunts, even though 2 of his friends were out roaming the streets. He had every opportunity. We peer pressured him enough. And that's just not what he wanted to do. He wanted to chill. And again, he was also Killah, but there's just so much more to Matt, you know, and there always has been. He was just so family oriented. So to kind of end your question, Alex, what he's kind of taught me is just, you know, you can have this not lifestyle in a bad way, but you can have your fun, and then you can just have your priorities, and they're just as important as the other, you know, however you want to kind of sprinkle that around. But yeah, I don't know. There's just so much to Matt. I don't know how to kind of getting repetitive here, but yeah, those are my little insights there.
I mean, Matt was very like that. He was very selfless in a lot of ways. You know, he would go out of his ways to help people in need. It's crazy. One thing that he does is he does way better than me, I think, than any of us, honestly, is keep in contact with a lot of people outside of our group of friends, you know. Mm-hmm. Even with Audrey, for people who don't know, Audrey's on right now. She joined on when in the middle of the conversation.
Hello.
Hi, Audrey. How you doing?
Hi, everyone.
But Audrey's also one of those people, you know, that we kind of kept in contact through Matt, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunate consequences, you know, we're all together right now, but it's, you know, his presence is definitely there in every person that we have met with Matt, you know what I mean? If it's definitely, it's a really big impact on me on that part, you know, for sure, because without him, I wouldn't have met so many cool people, you know, and it's really awesome. Cara, to you, my question is, what was your first time, or where was your first time, or what was your first time meeting Matt, you know, and then share your stories, you know, of like how Matt also kind of helped you out through life.
I'm going to answer your question first. Good evening, everybody, by the way. I'm going to answer your question first and then lead to a story. So the biggest impact that Matt put onto my life, or imprinting on me and my heart, was to really not judge a book by its cover. And I think that's something that, like, it's not just like a, you know, one and done lesson. It's a thing that, like with anything, it's a work in progress. And it's something that I have to continuously teach myself, but it definitely stemmed from Matthew. To lead into that story, when I first met Matt, to answer your question, it was in high school, and I knew Matt through like word of mouth, through other people. Matt and I weren't like close in high school. If anything, like, I don't think we got actually really close until like senior year, but also too, we hung out in the same circle. And for all those who know and for all those who don't know, SEPA is like a smaller school. I think we probably had a graduating class of maybe like less than 200, which to me, in my opinion, is a lot. But in comparison to when you hear other people's graduating class of like 500, 600, 700, it's like, oh, dang, like my school's like a little fish in a huge pond. So we hung out in the same circles. But when I first met Matt, I knew he used to play for Morris High School football team.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And I remember one of his pictures on MySpace. It was like him flexing in the locker room. And people would always used to talk about Killah, like, oh, Killah, Matt. And he came into one of our classes. I really want to say it was, ceramics, when I actually like heard Matt speak, other than like people talking him up and hyping him up. And he came to class and he had said like, yeah, man, I went to this party the other night, and it was like during the school week. So like my parents were really strict, and I was like, who's this kid like bragging about going to this party on like a Tuesday? Like, we just came back from the weekend, and like you're coming to school like on a Tuesday saying how bad cool this party was, where I was like, get out of here. And I just thought like he was just this big hot shot, and I just like wasn't buying it. But like we were all hanging in the same circle, so it was like, you know, the people I hung out was cool. I thought I was cool, and like I was like, hey, he's cool. And I thought it was even cooler like that Matt was probably like one of the first people I knew who knew a lot of older kids. So like even in 9th grade, he knew a lot of upperclassmen. So like that was cool. Or like, you know, him getting his first tattoo out of everybody in the class of 09. So I just used to think he was just this big hotshot. So those were my first impressions of Matt and how I like actually encountered him. But it wasn't until like, I want to say towards the end of high school, after high school. So we're like 18 going on 19 or 19 already. And I remember Matt was dating a girl, and I believe it was Ari. And Matt, yeah, Ari. And Matt was head over heels for her. And I remember our first conversation, it was like at my house, and we got really deep. And then from there on, we just continued to get deeper. And like, you know, Matt would have these 45 minutes to an hour, 2-hour long conversations on the phone. And I think there was a point in my life where I was really heartbroken. And Matt was like transitioning through relationships at one point in time, and we were just there for each other. And it's astonishing to me because Matt could literally not know you, but then speak to you like he's known you forever and just have the right words to say. And I will never forget, I was literally like sitting in the bathroom on top of a toilet. I wasn't using the bathroom, but I was just like, for some reason, that was just like the place I was at. And we were literally on the phone for an hour as I was sitting on the toilet, just discussing like life and heartache and how happy we are and transitioning. And it was just so beautiful. And that's why I bring it back to my point of not judging a book by its cover, because here it was, I was thinking this guy was this hot shot or big shot, popular kid in high school. And, you know, he really showed his true colors of just having a really big heart and showing that he was human. And you never know what people are going through and what people can do for you. And like you mentioned earlier about how Matt would just reach out to so many people and, you know, probably doesn't know them as well as, let's say, you know, a lot of people on this podcast, but would just imprint on them so heavily. And I just think that was so beautiful. And I think that has more courage than I feel like any of us can ever imagine to do, because he just goes outside of those limits and just touches people. And it inspires me to like want to do the same and like take time out of my busy schedule just to simply just check on our friend. And I know like all of us have like busy schedules, especially as we get older, whether it's like getting married, having kids, what have you. But if it's the number one thing that I learned from that, other than just not judging a book by its cover, is just taking the time to step back from life and enjoying it and enjoying the people who matter most to you. So he'll always be a beautiful soul here in this life and the next and the afterlife. His legacy will always live on, and especially I think his legacy will live on through his friends.
Beautifully put. And joining on, here right now. Chauncey, man, you're on mute right now, buddy. So, man. How you doing, Chauncey?
Oh, what's going on?
How you doing, Chauncey?
I'm doing good. I'm watching the sunset and reminiscing on, the good times with our good friend.
Yeah, definitely. And
You know,
and it was really beautifully put what you said, Cara. He, like we said with earlier with Jasmine too, he definitely went out of his ways. And but at the end, it really hit me when you said, about taking a step back, and giving back to your friends and family. We, you know, it's difficult when you're such in life, like in trying to get in your career and move on forward and whatnot, that we kind of tend to forget to take a step back and really enjoy the moments that we have with our friends. Like I really enjoy seeing MGW, like you guys going to Brienne, you know what I mean? Like that's an amazing thing that you guys even do out of your way to go see a really good best friend and enjoy a 90s party across the states. You know what I mean? That's awesome. And when I commented, I love everything about it. I mean, I love everything about it, the commitment of flying over there, just to be with one person who feels so alone at the moment because she also lost a deep friend, a dear friend too. And it's being alone, because when I lost my pops, right, I of course I had Patty and of course I had my mom and whatnot, but when you lose a person, you still feel alone in so many ways. But so for you guys to go out of your way to just to go just to be with Brienne for a while, you know what I mean, that was awesome too. And I know Matt would be so proud of you guys. He'd be talking shit probably, but he'd be so proud of you guys for sure. And joining us, Pepe. I don't know where you went, man, but Pepe's on. Pepe's another dear friend of ours who's back in town as of today. Where is he at? Keeps moving around on me on the Zoom. But Audrey, if you can go on right now.
Hi, sorry.
Hey, so Audrey, we're gonna let you go on first right now, since and we know you're at a dinner currently.
Thank
So
you.
we don't want to take too much of that time. But my question for you before you share a story is, how would you define Matt as a person?
I would, I try to think of the perfect things to say, all day long. I'm like rehearsing in my head, like, how do you describe him? What's the best stories? What's the best thing about Matt? And I think that it's just all around the best. He was just there. He was just so present in everyone's life that I almost feel like a part of me is gone. I think that we're all going through that. He just had such a way of like being so involved and so genuine that I didn't even have to like catch him up or remind him about, if I was calling him for a favor, or I was calling him for advice most of the time, or I screwed up, or I just needed to have a boost myself. He was just so involved with your life that it was almost like he was yourself as well. He just had a way to make you feel so comfortable in your own skin. And I just, I know he struggled with himself feeling comfortable, but he had a way to just make you feel so proud to be who you were. And it's really beautiful. He was just so powerful in that way. Just a phone call, I try to think of like the perfect story that we experienced together. And I think it's really just the endless hours on the phone, just doing normal life things. Like you could talk to him just driving, I'd always talk I don't listen to music in the car. So I always talk to Matt. That's like my music. And you would just talk for hours in traffic and whatever, and about the day. And, he would ramble on. And we would talk for hours, like about my coworkers or about things, and he would know them like they were his coworkers. He'd be like pissed, like he's like, what the fuck happened today with this person? What the fuck happened with this person? Like, oh, I hate them. Oh, I hate that they did this. He would know exactly where it was at, like, and how everybody was on that same page. I honestly don't know how he had the time to do it, or the memory, because I like try to think of stories right now and I'm like, I can't even remember all the little details. Like, I'm like, I know this was really funny, but what actually happened? And he would know that about everything and everyone.
Yeah, and something about you, Audrey, Matt loved you. Like you were like one of his best friends. Like he loved you, you know, he'd go hours, like, you know, he'd talk crap. I'm not gonna lie, mate.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
because he would always want to
Yeah.
look out after you, of course.
Of
You know what I
course.
mean?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I would always ask him, I'd be like, you talk shit to me about everybody. So who do you talk about me to? Like, I know you do. He's like, oh, I never do. I never do. I'm like, bullshit. Yeah.
But it was always out of love, you know what I mean? It was never out of spite or anything like that. He always had your back 100%, you know, and I want you to know that for sure.
Thank you.
And you know, share us a story too. Like it doesn't have to be a perfect story, just any story,
Right.
you know, like the thing that comes into your mind.
The one, I have two that keep popping up into my head. One in high school, and it was me, Melody. I can't remember if Shawnee was there or not, because there's a couple of the same kind of instance, and it's the fires, and my dad. And Matt and my dad they always got along really well, that I loved. And the fires came and they weren't letting us leave. Do you guys remember that year? Like they kept us inside the school. Like the smoke was like, the air quality was terrible. And we're like, fuck this, we're leaving. My dad was like, yeah, you guys can go, like just run out the gate. So we leave, we dip out of school, and we go with my dad and we go to Fiesta Island to give water to the horses. They brought all the horses from Miramar down there. And my dad's my dad was just a MacGyver, like no other. So he gets trash bags, trash cans, and those egg cartons that have holes in them, and puts trash bags in those to fill up with water. And we go to the spigot there at the bay. And my dad collected golf balls. So Matt's chucking these golf balls at the floor, right? And he keeps chucking them. They keep going higher and higher. And the next thing you know, one comes down and smashes out a car window, and it just shatters it. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And Matt looks at my dad like, oh, fuck, am I in trouble? You know? And he's like, get in the car. And we just jump in the car and run off. And Matt's like, oh my God, your dad's so cool. I can't believe I didn't get in trouble for that. Just tripping out. So funny.
He was tripping. He really thought that he was in trouble. And Audrey's dad was just like, let's get out of here before anybody sees that. Let's just go.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
It was so perfect.
It was awesome.
And by the way, guys, for the viewers listening, Melody Ebner just joined. She's also been on the podcast before. She's actually interviewed with me and Matt, of course. And Melody, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I just got out of the rehearsal, so I zoomed in as fast as I could.
No, I appreciate the time and effort and all. Audrey, that was a fun little story that you have, Matt. I kind of want to hear the other story if you have a little bit of time.
No. Yeah, I have time. The other story is this is a couple years ago. We were at my friend Chris and Monica's house, and it was Chris is right here. It's Monica's birthday, actually. So it was either Monica's birthday, yeah, it was either Monica or Chris's birthday or Matt's birthday. And I have honestly not seen Matt drunk too many times in my life, really drunk. I've seen it at a camping story once, and he was really drunk, and then this time, and he it was funny as fuck. They're very competitive boys. Chris is very, very competitive, and they're talking about racing. They're like, oh, I bet you I'm faster than you are. And Matt's like, no, I bet you I'm faster than you are. So we're like, okay, let's see it. Let's go outside to the apartment complex, down in the parking lot. Let's race. So Matt's like, okay, gets all into it. And he has those big boots on, those brown boots of his. And I don't know if they're not tied or what, or his jeans are tight or what excuse he used, but we're like, okay, on your mark, get set, go. This fool literally does not even, he's like this on the ground, does not even get off the floor, and falls and rolls forward, eats shit. And that's just laying on the floor. And you're like, bro, what the fuck? I thought you were fast. And he's just so over it, doesn't do it again. He's like, man, never mind. You guys fucking race. He got all butter. It was fucking hysterical.
I think that was something about Matt, right? He never went out of his comfort style. I feel like his style was always a hat, shirt, some tight jeans, and some boots. That was always his style.
Right.
I think
if anything, the girls' skinny jeans. I mean, he's worn my jeans before. Right? That picture in the yellow shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I personally sewed his skinny jeans for him before to make them skinnier. So,
right.
Yeah.
A little side story that I have about it was me, Matt, and Ashley. Ashley, do you remember when we went to go see the World Cup in North Park, and then we went to, what was that event that's happening at Fiesta Island? OTB?
Oh, OTL.
OTL. Over the line.
OTL. So I'd never been at that time, right? And Ashley's hyping it up for me. She's like, "It's so much fun. We're gonna have so much fun, so much drinking." And at the time, you know, I was single. Sorry, babe, but Ashley was like, "Yeah, there's always topless women there and stuff like that." I was all for it. You know what I mean? Matt was not. Matt was like, "No, bro, it's stupid. Let's not go." Matt was in jeans, right? So I'm pretty sure he was thinking about that. That it's on the beach, right? So we went. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't that impressed with it at that time. And Nat was so mad that day that he was on the beach with boots, jeans. He was just like, "What are we doing here, man?" Like, you guys know how he walks.
I feel like that's happened to him like every time he goes to the beach.
He's always like, you know how he has walk, you know. That's that's a funny story I have for sure. That's like a little side story that it just reminded me of that, the jeans and the shoes and the boots and whatnot. So thank you so much, Audrey, for sharing that. I know you're at a dinner, so if you have to go, you know, I know
I'm going to be listening in. Yeah. I just wanted to get those ones out there and, you know, just share that, like just how much, you know, Matt was touching to everyone and to all of us. And I know that, you know, nerves take over and everything, but when I'm with you guys right now, it's just so helpful and so, like, I just feel so close to him with you guys, and I hope we can all stay, you know, so close.
Yeah. And, you know,
he really did do that. And I see what you're saying. You know, it's like when I see all of you guys, I feel him as well.
Yeah.
It's a really good feeling.
His presence is always going to be there. I mean, I think you can attest to this, Audrey, since you know you lost your father too a while back. We always going to remember them. They're never going to leave us in a way, in some sort of way. You know what I mean? Same with you, absolutely. Ashley. I know you also lost your mom, and it's been a hard year for you too as well. And, you know, it's always going to be like that thought. They're always going to be in the back of our mind. They're always going to be there. It's something that we kind of grow with it. You know what I mean? And we live to celebrate their life still, you know, and every single time we continue with our careers or whatever ventures we do too, we always still have them in our back of the mind and continue thinking of them. They would be proud of us now.
And, you know, I don't know if this helps anybody or if it's accurate for you as well, Alex. With me, after my dad passed, I almost find a new relationship after death, you know, with them, like the relationship you have in your head and your higher power with them and the faith that you have with them. For me, I've created a beautiful relationship with my dad, which I hope that we can all do with Matt too. Going forward, because it really is. I mean, it's like at some point I used to be like, am I making up this in my head, you know, this relationship, but it's real. It really is. There's definitely still a very strong connection. So I know Matt will keep that with all of us.
And also, everyone, I have you on here. It's not something that we officially have to commit to, but definitely Alex as well. But Matt has helped me so much with the passing of my mom and just like being there for me and listening. And he shared all the time that I was able to leave that space open for him and for you as well. And something that him and I were co-creating together didn't come into fruition just yet. One of my favorite like stories that I'll dive into about it. It was on his birthday, which happens to be my half birthday. He like called me because like I was about to call him, but that's just
sorry to cut you off, Ashley, but I love how you celebrate your half birthdays every year.
Yeah, me too. I was like, damn, I'm gonna do that. I was thinking that too. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, Matt celebrated my half birthday and going, I don't know. One of the things that we were saying together is that like that's something that like bonds us. So I'm thankful that I get to say on my half birthday, I'm always going to be celebrating him. But last time I was in Florida, so his most recent birthday, just a few months ago. And yeah, he happened to call me, which I was like, Matt, I'm supposed to call you. Anyways. One of the things that we wanted to co-create is kind of like a group process for those who have like lost like a parent. So not something that we have to happen. But we're in this together, and that's
Matt told me about that. But I honestly thought Matt was being sweet and invited me into your guys' friend group thing. And I was like, oh, that's so nice, Matt. Like I would honestly love to, but I thought he was just being Matt-like. But that's awesome to hear the other side too. I would love to.
You know, me and I had to talk about it because I've been in groups, you know, especially when my dad passed, I went to groups because it was kind of like, to me, it was a little traumatic, you know, because I found my dad and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
It was hard for me. So I definitely went into the groups. And when Matt had passed, I had also mentioned to, I mean, not Matt, his dad had passed. I'd mentioned to Matt to, you know, try out groups, you know, people who, you know, kind of understand this process. Because unfortunately, people who haven't really lost someone so dearly to themselves, it's unknown, this feeling. It's really unknown. And it's kind of hard to relate, and those groups that people that I've been in and whatnot. And this to any listeners, viewers are out there, don't be afraid to reach out, if you're alone. Matt in one of our podcasts always said, like, it's okay to come out. It's okay to let the feelings out. It needs to be let out. It needs to be divulged. So anyone who's listening out there, I want this, I do want this group to happen. Actually, I want this group to definitely come into play for sure, because there's so many people, especially these last 2 years in COVID, that people have lost so much. It's a perfect time, honestly, to get together, and
so much time to spend with family.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Yeah,
and I think that's like part of his legacy. Something that I truly believe that his legacy is in his friends and the care that he always does for each other. And if that happens to happen, which I would love for it to bond with each other in memory of Matt, but definitely for our parents, like they created us for a purpose and for a reason. And if we're able to relate to each other and heal and grow, and I love what you said, Audrey, to create that new relationship with them, we are continuously growing and creating. And so to be able to lean on one another through the dark times, through the light, I think that, we can build upon our parents' legacies as well as Matt's legacy in that.
And that was very beautifully put too, Audrey, what you said. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can go on mute, Isaac. I was gonna have you as
of course.
Next. No, Isaac, unmute.
Isaac.
Let me see. Hey, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I know you've been listening. You've been a little bit quiet, listening and whatnot. So I kind of want to liven this up a little bit. So my question is, what's the craziest story you've had with Matt? And I know you have some crazy ones.
All right, he called me like 7 months ago, and I guess him and Arturo wanted to play out this plan that they had, right? So they're calling me and they're like, "Hey man, we want to invest in some properties. We're gonna be growing weed in the houses. We want you to come in as an investor." And I'm in the car and Ashley's next to me and the kids are next to me. And I'm like, "Matt, let me call you back." He's like, "No, nigga, you gotta call me back quick, man, because we make this happen." And I'm like, "No, man, like, hold on a second. What do you want to get?" And he's like, "Well, we want to buy a house, but we want to grow a lot of weed in it." And I'm like, "No, man, we don't do that no more, man. I'm a family man." And he kept pushing me, and I'm like, you know what? I hung up on him. And then we talked about it later, and he wanted to get he told me the plan. It was a whole plan of him, going legalize, California, we were going to be able to sell. I'm like, "Man, that's fucking crazy." He's like, "Man, it just, we talked about it. Let's make it happen." I'm like, "I never talked to you about it." He's like, "No, but me and Arturo talked about it." And I'm like, "First of all, I like Arturo, but I don't know about that." But I mean, it's not the craziest. It's just one of the most PG stories I have with Matt.
That's for sure.
But on another note, it just it hurts me a lot to think about Matt, and
It's okay, man. Let it out, bro. You gotta shy it away.
He would call me out of the blue just to check up on the kids. And I would get mad at him because he would come to my house and he'd be bringing Lego sets and he'd be bringing gummy worms and all kinds of shit for the kids. And sweets, and I tell Matt, you spoil my kids too much. You spoil my kids more than I do. He's like, well, Tio Mateo, that's what he does. I'm scrolling through my pictures and I find pictures of him playing with the kids, or old messages that I have from him, from a few months ago. He's checking up on the kids, but that's who Matt was. Matt was a friend that I mean, we all wish we can emulate. I can't say I'm a fifth of what kind of friend he is. I get so caught up with work, and I got 3 kids, and they take all my time. My wife, so Matt was just checking up on everybody, man. The kids, how's the kids doing? How's the kids' soccer practice? And we forget sometimes. I would forget to ask him how he was doing. How Matt was doing. How what was he going through? Because I always saw him as a strong human being, strong guy all around. But it's just his love for everybody, and everybody he knew was overwhelming. It was too much, and that's one thing we take for granted, that we won't get those phone calls again.
I mean, we won't get phone calls, but one thing that I'm very happy about is of course, I invited him to the podcast, and all throughout these last few, like 2 weeks, I've been listening to a lot of our conversations, and just reminiscing, and always thinking, even in random moments when I'm on my own, it's like, what would he say right now? Hey, man, he would be talking crap right now, man. Look at little Thiago, he can't even get his shit up. Talking shit like that, and I like to always think that, like, just walking around even to the stores, because me and Matt, we wouldn't even do particularly anything, we just hang out, go do something, chill at my house, probably, it was nothing particular in anything like an event, but just his presence around, it was cool. And I still, like I said earlier, like I still feel the presence of him when I'm just walking around, and it's cool because sometimes now I feel both of their presence, my dad and him. I can hear my dad talking shit behind me, and Matt over here telling me, "Don't listen to your pop star, and he tripping." And it was, and don't be afraid to let it out, Isaac. These are all feelings, man, that we're all going through, dude, and we all have each other's back.
Yeah, it's been a tough time, man. It's been a surreal week and a half. I think we talked about it last time I saw you. I'm still waiting for his ass to just come out through, come through some door and, be like, man, I was playing with y'all. And then I would punch him and then I would hug him.
You're like, got him.
Yeah, got him, it's that kind of thing. And, one thing, Matt, when, he would come and hang out, like you said, he would chill. Right now I'm gonna put on the Laker game, because he would come to my house when we watch playoff basketball. And that motherfucker was always hungry, even if he ate. I would make something for myself and Ashley, and I'd be like, I know you hungry, man. He's like, no, I just ate. And then I serve him the plate, and he eat the whole fucking plate.
That'd be me too.
No, but somebody else would tell me, no, I'm full. Matt he was never full. He wanted to eat. I'll make him a plate. He had a spot at my table anytime he wanted to come, and
a plate with extra cheese.
Fuck, he was just picky, man. I didn't even know. But he was what I would serve him. I would make him fish, chicken, whatever it was that I was making that night for dinner, and he would eat it. And one last thing I'll say is I have a crock pot that fucking Matt gave me about 5-6 years ago that he got from an ex-girlfriend of his. And he was like, man, I don't want it, man, but you could have it. But you got to make me dinner. I'm like, no, man, you could come once a week. I'm not going to fucking make dinner every day for you. He's like, no, man, but if I'm giving it to you, you got to make me dinner. And yeah, that's one last exception I have with Matt is fucking crock pot.
Better not ever sell that crock pot, bro.
that crock pot is that crock pot is gonna follow me everywhere until it doesn't work no more.
You better watch out. That ex-girlfriend may come back and try to take it. She's gonna hear this. She's gonna be like, "Fucking Matt."
That was my last memory. I want it back.
I've been looking for it.
I'm not getting it back. She'll have to.
And now that we have you on, Josh, I know you were also a little quiet too. Now you switched the little venues over there to your car.
Yeah, I've been moving.
My question to you is, how has Matt helped you in life? How has he helped you further in either in your career, your achievements, or even your persona? And share a little story of Matt.
I mean, everybody's been talking about how Matt was always that person to reach out. Matt was always that person to make you feel special, make you feel like his best friend, whether, we were all his best friends, but, he made us all feel that way. And it wasn't just when he was an adult that he was doing that. It wasn't just in high school. It was 6th grade. I'll start with my story. 6th grade. I invited a bunch of people. My parents bought some tickets to some concert. It was like a 93.3 concert. Alice Cooper, Vanessa Carlton, and Smash Mouth.
You're talking about really old artists.
Oh yeah,
I was there for that.
And yep. And so I invited 15 people, and Matt was one of those people that we had a couple classes together, had a few conversations, and I just randomly invited him. Never expected him to come. And out of the 15 people that I invited to school, he was the only one to come. And then Lee spoke up. Lee came, but Lee was at that time. I was with Lee every freaking day, so Lee doesn't count. He's a brother, but so are you guys. But and just
letting you know, I never got invited to this party, so
maybe you did, and you just didn't pay attention. All right, because I invited a lot of people to that fucking party. I was all excited. My parents spent a few $100. I was like, damn, you guys are going all out. And then it was, Matt showed up, and all of a sudden I was like, all right, I guess Matt and I are boys. And I we stormed the stage for Alice Cooper, who, I mean, at that time, maybe Matt knew, I had no idea, but School's Out for Summer by Alice Cooper. I recommend it for everybody. It's a great song. It'll make everybody happy. And, we were, 12 at that time, 11, run into the stage with my parents, way behind us, back in the crowd, just trying to jam out to this old ass rock star that we didn't even know about. And then like everyone said, to answer how he's helped me out in my life, and he, everyone's saying he was that person to teach you how to reach out, and I think we're all going to try to be better about that, and hopefully that sticks. And hopefully, I have my 8-year-old son now. I've had him for now 4 years. Matt's been to every single one of his birthday parties, and I've had to learn how to become a dad before I even had Leia. And Matt was one of those guys that would sit there and give me advice. And, he's sitting there taking care of his nieces, and he'd give me, what they're going through. And we're like, oh, these fucking kids, man, they're driving us nuts. But at the same time, he would, the wisdom that Matt would share or somehow come up with, it's taught me to be, a better man, a better father. The wisdom that Matt would share or somehow come up with, it's taught me to be, I mean, a better man, a better father, you know, career wise. He's always worked his ass off. He was always trying to, you know, impress, or not impress, but just make sure he's the best of what he was, where he was. So like when he was at the city and getting all the what's the correct word? Acknowledgement. Fan mail. Yeah, exactly. For that sexy ass body. I mean, once he started working out, that's how you know who's seen him recently and who hasn't. We see all these old pictures. And it's the skinny ass pictures. And then now we see, you know, Matt, who he is now, buffer than anybody out there. Matt's always been that person to put himself out there and work his butt off.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, speaking of working his butt off, not too long ago, like a week before he had actually passed, and he was helping us with our yard, you know, just, you know, he's been helping us with my yard these last few months, and you know, just out of kindness, he'd bring the tools from his grandparents' house, and just, you know, me and him would just be doing hard labor work for sure, man, and we grinding it out. Now, oh yeah, well, Patty too. She was like, you know, now you're gonna have to pick up the weight. Now you're gonna have to pick up the weight. But yeah, man, and I'm glad that I didn't know that. I didn't know he would get advice from him, from Matt, on being a dad, and that's a really cool experience, man. Because yeah, he did take care of his nieces and nephews. For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Matt had advice on everything, no matter if he experienced it or not.
Well, Lee, now that we're with you now. What has been the biggest advice? What has been the biggest advice that you think you took from Matt? And you know, share a story that you have with Matt.
So I'll kick it off with, I've been trying so hard since this whole thing has started to remember when I actually met Matt. And I'm like, when was that? I was like, he's always been around for some reason. I was like, every time I picture hanging out with like the whole group, Matt's always been there. And now that Josh brought it up at Summerfest, I totally remember all of us when we rushed the stage for Alice Cooper, and there was that chick in the plaid dress that we were all staring at. And that's when I remember, I was like, that's the first time I met Matt. Before he was Killah Matt. But
when he was killing Matt. When he was just Ryan.
Yep. But one of the more recent stories was when my son was born. And after everyone had gone home, like all the family members from the hospital, and the first person that showed up, still dressed in his work uniform, I think he'd probably skipped out, that he came and made sure that we were all good to go. And anything we needed or anything like that. And I'd never changed a diaper yet. So Matt took me through it step by step, changing my son's first diaper and me changing my first diaper. I just remember him saying that I got a doo-doo on my son's head.
Wait, sorry to cut you off, Lee. Is that those are pictures that the pictures that you put the other day? Were those the ones you were talking about? That story?
Yeah, that video that I sent you. Yeah. So that was Matt trying to coach me through changing my first diaper. And when I took the old diaper off, I set it up next to my kid's head, which is a terrible mistake. But yeah, it's just how you'd come out of nowhere and like just be there. Like you weren't expecting it, you weren't asking for it. Like me and Matt, like in the last couple of years with like COVID and everything, we got distance, but there's always like that random COVID call. And like that, he would kick me off, and I'm like, well, fuck, if he's calling everybody, it's like I should probably call everybody and check in on them too. And just
he had that power too. He would make me feel that way as well.
Yeah, he was so many people's. He was a rock. He was like that solid point and the connection for so many people to be a part of everyone else. And that's what I'm really gonna miss about Matt. And we can only strive to like be as much as he was, and like look out for all of us, everyone in the group, the people that aren't in the group anymore, and the people that will be in the group in the future.
Yeah. No, definitely. And we're definitely going to take you're definitely going to take those notes of diaper changing for the next baby that you have, man. So,
Right.
So that in fruition, each time you change a diaper, bro, Matt's spirit is right there for you.
Indeed it is.
Now let's go to Chauncey. Chauncey, if you can unmute.
Yeah.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right.
And for everybody out there who doesn't know, Chauncey's a dear friend of ours who lives in New York, but I've known him since elementary. A great artist, talented artist, beautiful, all around personality. And you were very close to Matt throughout high school for sure. Yeah. And so I kind of want to get a little specific because you guys were definitely in choir. So tell us about your choir, experiences and all those fun party stories that you guys used to have during those times.
So, I was in the choral ensemble since ninth grade. I got in the choir, and I think he came in 11th grade. And he's always been, in band, and he's, always been a proficient musician, and, knows about music. So when he told me that he was going to be joining choral ensemble, I didn't know how to feel at first, honestly. I was like, oh, you can play trombone, but can you sing? Like, like, and not to say like, I don't know. I felt like very, I just didn't know what it was gonna look like. I had one view of what, that choir looked like, and also who Matt was. So it was just very like such a juxtaposition, like the personality, at that time he's killing Matt in his like prime, he's feeling himself. He's like, he's, that kid. He's, you guys have heard the stories of him just, being at a party on a weekday, and everybody else, like myself, I'm just like mind blown, just like, wait, you can be out of the house on a Tuesday? Like, what the hell? But he joins the choir, and he joins the bass section that I'm in, and he actually kills it. It was perfect. It was such a Matt thing, because he's such a he's so colorful. He has so many different, subject matters that he can talk about. He's knowledgeable on like politics, religion, freaking changing a diaper, plays trombone, loves rock music. Like, he's just so well versed in so many things. So it made sense when you think about his person that of course he would come in there and kill it, and like add such a just fit right in, and kind of really just make the family element feel even more close knit, just like he does in every space that he's in. He makes everybody feel like he's their best friend, or that they're his best friend. There's 24 hours in a day, and we get busy, and life happens for everyone, but it's almost kind of he's always been thoughtful as a person from the start, from the jump. And that is what he brought to the choir. And he also added the freedom of he gave us a little bit of the rock star lifestyle. He added some of that coolness to the choir. He added some of that, like Jay-Z made Beyonce like cool in the streets kind of thing. Like he was that, that street cred where it's like, oh shit.
Real quick, Chauncey, that's so funny you say that about the choir, because just the other day, Matt was like, Audrey, I still remember every single word from every single song. And I was like, I don't want you to sing them all. Please don't do it. And like, because, he'll just keep going and keep going and keep going. And like, you never want to listen to the music Matt's listening to, or at least I never did. And he was like, however he does it, like, it's just like, the weird little like song. You know how he does it? I can't describe it. Like he's
Yeah.
like, oh, and you'll hear him like singing to himself in the other room, just that one line from like some old ass song or some beat or something from choir, and like
Oh my
he's like,
gosh.
oh, like going all into it. I don't know, it's so funny.
Literally, he took it so serious. He took it
Yeah.
serious as hell.
And then it's just like, and then his throat starts itching. He's like whatever that noise, and then like goes back to singing.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
ew, that's so gross. Stop doing that.
Throat itching.
Sorry, I took a little. I got up a little bit because you mentioned you know, about like he's always coming out with the story and stuff like that. And I literally have like my bookcase over here, and I remember, and I had to bring this out. I was looking for the page. This is Matt with the weekend story with Jasmine, Brienne, and even Joseph Rouch, which I didn't even know he had a weekend story each time.
I think Ralph just was an interesting. He just had an interesting story. Always. You know? And Matt and Jasmine and Brienne, obviously.
Joseph Rouch was in there like for the prompting aspect, but it was great. That's CPA for you.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, Chauncey, what was like your last few conversations with Matt like?
So interestingly enough, I came back to San Diego for Mother's Day. So May 5th, I come Cinco de Mayo of 2021. And I just let him know, obviously, like, you know, like I usually do, like, hey, I'm coming into town, you know, whatever. I'll be here for a few days. I'll be here, you know. And, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, let's link, and then we'll link. And then other times it's like, we'll link, and then I'm gone before we get to get a chance to. But for whatever reason, Matt, you know, he got these season tickets to the Padres, and he was just, you know, he thought he was Willy Wonka with these tickets. Like, he's just like, you're going to the game, you're going to the game, you're going to the game, everybody's going to the game with me. We're all gonna go to the game. I'm taking everybody to the game. And it's just like okay, awesome. Like, hell yeah. But like, I personally am not a baseball person. Don't know shit about any of that shit. So I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm down to hang out.
Yeah, I think tickets for all those people.
I think I was like, I'll hang out.
Yeah,
after.
he invited everyone to those baseball games.
Yeah,
he invited my mom. I was like, I don't think that he had enough tickets.
Well, you guys gotta understand, he had these tickets since last year before COVID, you know, so this dude was waiting for 2 years to get these tickets going. So he was just like, I need to go. Like, who's going with me? You know, he was just excited to get back to the to baseball again.
He learned that from Josh, because you have 15 tickets, you invite as many people as possible. So one guy's going to show up.
But Chauncey actually went.
I actually went, and I don't care about
so did Amir, which Amir is joining in right now.
Hey, I went. He took
me and my son. Hey, that was a fucking blast when we went.
I had a great time. The Padres won.
Sorry, I missed your guys' call after.
Oh wait, Chauncey, hold on. Can you confirm something real quick? Because apparently Matt tried to tell, I think it was Josh, that like I showed up late to the bar. Was I not there first waiting for y'all with the drinks ready?
Amir was waiting. Already had downed his first beer pretty much. Had food already, like, you know, ordered and like eaten by the time we got there, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. But you know, keep in time. You know, Amir was on time. His white side, you know.
His white side.
And that we were like, all right. Well, so no, actually, so I land in San Diego at like, I don't know what time. But for some reason, I just go to the game from the airport with Matt. And that's not something I would typically do. But for whatever reason, I'm just like, hell yeah, let's go. As soon as I get touchdown, let's go. And why not? And we had such a good time. We, it's like you don't lose any time, because living away, time and distance, you would imagine could create just a distance within the relationship, but it felt just the same way like when we were like driving in his car and he's dropping me off, before I can, before my curfew, and he, can just stay out till whenever. But, it felt that same way. And honestly, it's hard to think of just like one thing to grasp onto. It still feels kind of it doesn't feel real still to me. So it's kind of like um you just try to hold on to anything you're trying to rethink, and you look over text messages. Like I'm looking over our messages, and honestly, the last thing he had texted me was he had commented on a picture that I took on Instagram with a female, and he was like New York got all the baddies, I need to come out there, da, 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 da. And I was literally, I was like, this girl, I named a few girls. I was like, this girl looks exactly like this person, this person, this person, and this person that we grew up with. Like, literally, like the same, just as gorgeous, like the same. And he was just like, nah, I did my research. And so we just laughed about that. And how he was just gonna come to New York and like be with New York girls.
And not talk to no girls.
And not talk to
actually do it.
And just a little quick pause. I know Cara just messaged me. She does have to go. I do want to say thank you, Cara, so much for coming on. I appreciate your time. I know you were limited in time as well. But we really appreciate you being here and sharing your story. We love you, and of course, you already know we're always here for you.
Well, thank you so much, Alex, for inviting me onto this podcast. Matt has so many friends, and I'm just so honored that you chose me and the rest of MGW to join this podcast with you guys. I appreciate it so much, and I'm so thankful for all you guys being on here. Chauncey, Ashley, Isaac, Jose, Pepe, Melody, Amir, Lee, Jasmine, Luis, Josh, and Audrey. It's been so great connecting with you guys. I feel like it's another high school reunion. And honestly, like, it's just been really great reminiscing on old times, whether it's through Matt, connecting with you guys. It's just been so great. And I don't want to keep talking forever because I know I have to get ready to go, and I don't want to take up anybody else's time, but thank you so much. I love you guys. I'll see you later on this week. God bless you guys.
Love you. Love you.
Love you, Cara.
Yeah, love you,
Bye.
Bye. And then on that note, I'm going to piggyback off Cara. I'm literally downtown, about to walk into. Whoop, hold on. Just gonna go live right now. We're about to go. Sorry, complications. But yeah, Alex, honestly, thanks for hosting this, honestly. And Matt, in honor of Matt, everyone hopping in, everyone that's flying in next weekend, this is exactly what Matt would have hoped for us. As Ashley said, like, his legacy is within the friends, so let's keep that alive. I love you guys more than you guys already know. I don't even have to go into it. So thank you again, Alex, and I'll see you guys all soon.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Love you, Jasmine.
Be safe.
Hey, Amir, any chance do you have any earbuds? Because I think since you joined, there was like this echo. Thank you.
Before we move on real quick, how do you mute it and keep the pictures? I've never used them before.
I think it's on the bottom where it's like
left, Lee.
yeah.
If you go to the bottom left,
On
you'll
bottom
see,
left
like,
where the
stop
microphone's at?
video mute. If you just click
Oh,
mute,
the big. I didn't even know you could double tap it. I got it now. Thank you, guys.
So joining on from Miami. I don't know where you live now, honestly, Pepe. Yeah, every single time I hear from you, it's like a random spot in the States, or you just randomly show up at somebody's doorstep. How you been, man? And I know you just flew in to San Diego. I know you kind of a little bit been disconnected of what's been going on over here. I know you've been taking it pretty hard, and we talked about this, and I know you wanted to contribute and being part of something. Definitely, that's why I asked you if you wanted to come onto the show and and share your stories and whatnot. my first question is for you, and then after you share your before you share your story, is also when and did you meet Matt?
I remember it was around Mr. Strong's class. We were all, it was probably before that, but I would just hear about him and he would just like see me from a distance. But it was probably in Mr. Strong class where we actually connected and got to know each other. And then we would just talk and be like, hey man, you want to go drink a Mickey's 40 after work? Yeah, bro, the kicker, you're gonna chill this summer, bro. Fucking drink a Mickey's 40. That was when MySpace was still around, bro. And I actually got to know the kid, and you're like, oh, that is actually a pretty cool ass cat. I thought you were all uptight and shit. I would see like the way that he dressed, and it was just all like super like kind of punk rock, but really, really mellow ass cat. I was like, all right, bro, you looks like you really chill good, you know? So yeah, bro, we actually did even end up connecting that summer, but it was like, that's where I actually kind of started talking to him. It was like by the end of, I think, freshman year.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty.
you know, I don't know if you remember, but I posted a picture not too long ago of you, me, and Matt. you weren't having a good moment at that time, but you know, what's some cool stories that you have with Matt? You know, like those times. You know what I mean?
Bro, how can I forget, man? The 21st fucking birthday party, bro. That was the Halloween party, bro. Remember that one?
Yeah.
When we had the it was at Matt, Amir, and Sean's place, and they hosted it. And like, dude, it was so fucking.
By the way, for the viewers, Amir at back in the day, for people who don't know, Matt, Amir, and Sean, a dear friend of ours, used to live in this place in City Heights, San Diego, and it was considered the party house during the college years for sure. So
Yeah.
this is the time that Pepe is referencing from, and the photo that I'm referencing from.
Yeah, the house was sick as fuck.
Yeah, and it was.
And my parents let us stay there rent free. Like they were trying to sell the house, so they were like, "You can live there for free." And I was like, "Can Matt live with me?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Can Sean live with me?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, cool." So yeah.
Well, Pepe, do you remember much of those stories? To be honest,
I actually can't really remember because my brain is so fried from smoking so much pot, drinking so much fucking alcohol, and doing so many drugs.
Oh my God, Pepe.
But I do remember that night. I was so fucked up that I ended up doing a cake stand.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yes, I remember Pepe doing the keg stand.
I think we all remember
I had
Pepe
to
doing
wake
the
up.
cake stand.
I had to wake up the next day to go to work at 4 in the morning. I wake up in my car like, how the fuck am I gonna make it? I go in the car. I go inside the house. I think I drink a big glass of water, and he's passed out on the couch. He's like, are you gonna make it to work? I was like, yeah, man, I just came in for a glass of water. I had to go straight to work, bro. It was my birthday day that day. I remember specifically. I get to work. My manager, the one that I hated so much, was working that day. She was like super fucking nice to me for some fucking reason. But all in all, she ended up getting fired that day, so it was a great birthday.
Yeah. And what's one thing that you're gonna like remember? What's up?
What that could have been put together without Matt, you know what I mean? Because I feel like around that time, like I really didn't really know anybody, and I was just like, all right, like I don't really know what's gonna happen. I'm just in like limbo with my friends. I don't know if I'm gonna be hanging out with this crowd of people. I don't know if I'm gonna be hanging out with this crowd of people. And I was just like, okay, but he was just always the homie that would believe in me. He would always be like, attaboy, Pepe, what do you mean you're gonna be hanging out with that crowd of people? Fuck that. Nah, bro. You gotta come out and enjoy the good things in life, man. Come to this apartment and let's actually fucking get together and enjoy fucking life instead of trying to go out and gangbang and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he probably did persuade you to get out of that gangbanging life, bro. You know, and
He did, man.
but yeah,
That's for damn sure, bro. He was
I
such
mean,
an
those were
inspired friend.
yeah, and those were good. Those were definitely good times. I didn't want to mention those times because there were some crazy times. Some not PG rated times for sure, but yeah,
Definitely
and
not, man.
you know, we're definitely gonna remember definitely those times, especially that house. Which
Yeah,
now I kind of want to get to Amir. Who Amir just joined with us not too long ago, guys. For the viewers and listeners, Amir is also a dear friend of ours, a really close friend of Matt as well. Like you listened to Pepe's story earlier, he lived with Matt and Sean. Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. I'm sorry. They live with Amir. And I remember the least part. I remember the least story, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, Amir's you know, he's one of the closest friends for sure to Matt, and he's one of my dear friends, closest friends as well, and I'm glad to have him on again on the podcast. How you doing, Amir? I know you've been having some tough times.
You know, I mean, it comes in waves. Like, you know, definitely like hanging out with you guys like has like helped. And then just, you know, like talking to his mom and his aunts and like all that stuff, you know, it gets rough sometimes, but you know, for them, like now that like it's been, you know, some time, it's like kind of getting easier, you know, like I said, it comes in waves. Like I'll be chilling and then all of a sudden I'll just be like, damn, like that's gone. Like I'm like, in my head, I still be looking at my phone like, I know this motherfucker's gonna call me at like 11:30 and like just start talking to me about what, you know, whatever's on his mind or whatever someone did that he's just like, man, you won't believe this shit. And so, but yeah, definitely like hanging out with you guys and like being around you guys has helped a lot. And then, you know, work, just like throwing myself into that and kind of like the craziness. I won't lie. My patience with people has not been what it normally is, but you know, I like everyone at work like get, you know, like my managers know what's up, so like they've been like super cool because I've definitely said some shit to people that like like I would have probably gotten in trouble for it.
Yeah, and it's understandable, dude. I mean, we have so many emotions going around, you know, at the same time, you know, and it's like what you said, the waves, you know, one moment you're okay, one moment you're not okay, you know, and you're, these waves are just gonna, I don't know, I want to probably speak on my behalf. I don't know about you, Ashley and Audrey, but I think the hardest part of this is not right now, if it's actually the after part, the after the service, the funeral part, which is like, all right, there, it's in a way it's kind of like that's an end, you know, it's a chapter. Now we have to go to normalization or normal life and whatnot and go back to our life. That's when it's hard because our normality is different. Before that, our normality is having that person with us the whole time, having that contact with that person. So going back to like a normal life is a definitely a bigger challenge than what it seems, right? Because as I felt through it, and it was kind of like the same pattern. You felt dazed and kind of confused. Like it was like it's a hazy confusion within these first few weeks of what's happening. It's kind of like what Isaac said earlier, right? You feel like they're on vacation because you're still not in belief of it, of what just happened. You know, it's until like after like, wow, like this shit did really just happen. You know, and that's the healing part for sure. But like I said, that's to me. I don't know if Ashley or Audrey can attest to that for themselves. You know, just to let you know, Amir, you know, Matt's very, you know, of course, Matt's very close to all of us. But I think he's been the closest to you for sure. And you know, I'm here for you, bro. Everyone here is here for you as well. You know, and I thank you for everything that you have been doing these last few weeks, you know, because I know the toughness of setting all this stuff up. You know what I mean? And to have the courage of going through that, for our friend. Same with Audrey too. And, I know Audrey's also been in the background of helping out the family and whatnot. And I give props to you both for the courage that you guys are going through right now and helping out, because these are tough times, and tough times are waiting to come for sure. And Amir, share us a story. Maybe share us also your first time meeting Matt, and share some of your fun stories with Matt.
Oh God. Okay. Audrey will love this. I first actually met Matt sophomore year. We actually had a class together. So that was the first time I met Matt. And it's funny because that year it was me, Audrey, Ashley, Matt, and I think Melody, you were in the class too with Barbola, where we had the student teacher, kind of the lady.
Cat or whatever, Cat.
Yeah. So I forgot what Matt had said or did, but he basically pissed her off, and so she kicked him out of the class, kicked him out, and then was send him to the office. And so Audrey tells everyone, she's like, this is such bullshit. No, when she gets back in here, we're not gonna answer a single question. I can't believe she did that to Matt. And so literally she comes back in, and for the rest of the class, every time she would ask us something, no one would say anything. We would just sit there in silence the whole time. And so that was I was damn, I was okay, you will ride for Matt, all right. But no, so one of the what made me and Matt be super tight was senior year. Junior year we started getting closer, and then senior year we got super tight because Roscoe, you guys remember Roscoe, and this other dude were supposed to fight after school at the basketball courts. And so fights never happen at SCPA. So a bunch of us are there. So a bunch of us are there, right? The fight was whatever, it was weak. And then these two cholos roll up on us, and they're older. We're 17. These dudes are in their late 20s, early 30s. They roll up, and they're oh, who said y'all could get down on our turf? Keep in mind, we're at SCPA's basketball courts. Okay, calm down, homie. Your turf. And so I'm sitting there man, these dudes are ballsy, just running up on us, because there was 15 of us there. And I look back, man, everybody is on the other side of the basketball court. And Matt,
I was right behind you. I don't want to hear
you were
yeah, behind him on the other side.
I was behind him.
Behind him on the other side.
But when I looked back, Josh was close, and then Matt was standing right next to me. And I was just the dudes walk off, and I'm talking, and I'm hey man, appreciate you having my back, but why? You know what I mean? Because we weren't super tight at that time. You know what I mean? We went to parties together, and we were cool, but I was dang, you were about to fight these dudes with me. And he was man, I wasn't just gonna leave you hanging. He's fucking everybody else, they got all scared and ran off. He's I wasn't just gonna leave you like that. And that's when I was all right, Matt, he's a real one, for sure. And then basically after that, hung out all the time. I mean, hell, I used to drive him around all the time because he didn't have a car. So I'd always go pick him up from his grandparents and take him to Ari's, and then we'd hang out. So pretty much since then, Matt and I
Can you explain to the viewers and listeners how those when you would pick them up, how the wait time to pick up Matt?
Oh my God. Matt was the worst at being no, I would get so frustrated because I would call this fool, and I started after maybe the first couple times, I started calling him when I was 5 minutes away, still wouldn't be outside. All right, call him 10 minutes away, still wouldn't be outside. one time I was like, I just want to see. I was supposed to pick him up and I was like, hey man, I'm outside. Hadn't even showered, hadn't even dressed, nothing. I was just like, hey man, I'm outside. I showered, got dressed, brushed my teeth, ate, drove the 15, 18 minutes it takes to get to his place. Still wasn't outside ready. I was like, there was one time in all the years that I picked him up that I realized I had forgotten to tell him that I forgot to be like, oh, I'm outside. So I was like coming down the street and I think I was leaving from Josh's house. And so I'm like coming down the street and I'm like, hey man, I'm outside. And I pull up and I almost crashed because there he was outside, like ready to go. And I took a picture I was like, hold on. I was like, I need a photo of this. I was like, this never happens. And then he starts flipping me off and he's just like, man, it's not that bad. I was like, bro, I've literally taken I took like a 45-minute nap one time waiting for Matt to come outside of Ari's house once. Like straight up, like pulled up, was like, I'm outside. And then I kind of just dozed off and I came to, I was like, man, where are you? And he was like, oh, my bad, dog. I was just like, oh my God. But yeah, it was, and I would get so pissed. And I'd be like, man, I'm not picking him up anymore. And then the next day he'd be like, hey man, like, can you come scoop me for the party? I'd be like, yeah, I'm on my way. Like, all right, let's go.
At that point, I'm gonna give Brianna a shout out and like piggyback off you. Brianna wish she could be here. She loves you all and supports you all. I just got to be in Rhode Island with her. And y'all know, like, I left SC early, so I wasn't a part of this experience. But something she was sharing with me is her, Jasmine, used to also carpool and used to pick up Matt. And they were telling me the story that every morning they'd be waiting outside his house for 10 minutes. Like, we have school, like, waiting for you. So I wish she was here to share that, but she loves you all and she'll be flying in this week. So that's part of the experience. She told me that. So
I can already hear Matt. Hold the fuck on, girl.
Yeah. Hey, and it was always like the same three excuses. It was either, oh my bad, dog, I fell asleep, or oh man, I was getting, I had to change, or man, my grandpa was talking my ear off, like, well, I couldn't get out, and it was always the same three. But I was like, nah, homie, like you just don't come out on time, like. I don't know what you be doing, but yeah. God, oh my, yeah. Whew. Yeah, he I'd be so hot. I'd be so mad. I'm trying, oh man. Another really good one. Okay, so when Sean, Matt, and I all lived together at the house, like Matt, he does not like smoking weed, like he hates being high, like he just doesn't like it,
which is weird because Isaac was telling us the story about he wanted to open up his pot shop.
I mean, hey, the money, but Matt's thing was like, he was like, man, the money.
Yeah, that's why he did it, just for the money. That's exactly why.
But Matt hated, like, he didn't smoke, but like Sean and I did, and so I would always like constantly be like, rolling, and we didn't have cable, so we would just be sitting on the couch watching the same Pirates of the Caribbean movie on repeat. Like we literally would just sit on the couch for like hours and just watch Pirates of the Caribbean on repeat, like over and over and over again. And so every time, Matt would sit in between us though. So we'd be passing back and forth, but we would always offer every time. And we knew he was going to say no, but we were just like, Sean and I were literally like, there might be that one day where he finally just is like, okay, never did. But it was just like, that was what we would do. We'd literally just sit on the couch, hang out, talk crap, and, it was, man, living with Matt was the best roommate. Like, he was super like tidy, like, and keep in mind, like, we're all like in our early 20s, so we're all like, just straight degenerates and like messy. But Matt, now every time you walk in his room, nice and clean and tidy, he always cleaned the house and mopped, and yeah, he was great. He was
Yeah, you're right about that room. He was always nice and tidy in that room. That dude, he was always like clean and pristine. He wouldn't even like people going in there a lot of time.
Yeah, nah, unless you were a girl, and then in that case, still nothing. But
Yeah, I was say I slept in that room all the time, but he wouldn't sleep in there, or we would sleep together. I remember one time I was sleeping in his room, and I think it was a party, and I had like a really short dress on, and I was like trying to sleep, and I'm guessing he was riding up. He's like, Audrison, wake up! Like I cannot lay next to you if your dress is gonna be riding up. Like put these shorts on. I'm like, okay. Thanks, man.
Such a gentleman.
Yeah, Matt and I would literally fall asleep in the same spot, same couch, just different times. Like always right in the middle, head back, just like knocked out all the time. Like both of us would do it. And it'd just be funny because like I'd roll in and I'd be like, Matt, I'm like, go in your room, man. Like you gotta pay. He'd be like, oh. Like, and, you know, he gets that. But then he'd do the exact, he'd be like, Amir, man, like, come on, like, go to your bed. But he always picked me up Jack in the Box. I used to get the same thing. At like, literally, it reached a point, like, I wouldn't even ask. Like, he would just be like, hey, I'm almost home. I got some Jack in the Box for you. I'd be like, oh, dope. Like, for sure.
Hey, Amir, I want to ask you. So yeah. I was trying to remember, and it's kind of foggy in my memory. Jordan had brought it up the other day, and I kind of want to remember how this story went because you just mentioned Jack in the Box.
Mm-hmm.
The punch in the hole in the wall. I don't remember the story how it went. Can you like?
Oh my god. Okay, so it was one of the parties we threw, and I think just like a bunch of like BS had happened that night, and I was just pissed and like upset, and you know, I wanted my Jack in the Box. So, you know, Matt goes, grabs some Jack in the Box, and like it's for a bunch of us. And this dude Tony, who I had let stay there, which was a horrible decision. Like, dude ended up being just a total dirtbag. Like, he stole Matt's laptop.
Oh, I totally forgot about that, dude.
Yeah,
Matt,
right. Matt gave him his laptop because he said he could get it fixed, and then he just like bounced to New York. Tony.
Wait, what?
I don't know.
Let me know if you figure it out.
Yeah.
Isaac's over there sipping his cup.
Right? He's like
we ride for Matt.
So Matt, like, you know, I'm going through the food, and then I get my bag, and like the wrapping on it said like a chicken sandwich or something. So I'm going around, I'm like, hey, like, do you have this? Like, do you have that? You know, and everyone's like, no, like, this is what I got. So I go to Tony, and I'm knocking on the door, and I'm like, hey, man, like, I think you have my burger. And he's like, nah, dude, I don't. And I was like, well, I asked everyone else, and like, you know, you're the only one. So like, I think you have my burger. And then he gets mad and is like, he's like, man, I don't have your fucking burger. Like, fuck you. And so I literally just turn and I just punch a hole in the wall. And I'm like, give me my fucking burger before I beat your ass. And then like Matt comes and grabs me. He's like, hey man, like it's, you know, like just it's all good. It's all good. Like don't trip. I opened the wrapper. It was my burger. They just had wrapped it with the wrong like. And Matt literally is like, see man, getting all worked up, and there it was. I was like, oh my god, I felt so stupid. I was like, oh my god, I'm an idiot. And then Matt the next day like goes and picks up like some stuff and fixes the hole, and like it was all, well, not the next day. It was a little while because he's like, I think we should just leave it there as a reminder.
I remember Matt was the one who told me this story. I remember that time. He was like, over a cheeseburger, bro.
Hey man, it was an ultimate cheeseburger. All right.
Amir's face after he opened up that wrapper and realized that it was his fucking burger was like priceless.
Oh man, I was just like, oh my god,
because we were all like, damn, Amir, calm down. He opens it, he's like, fuck.
I was like, damn, I'm a dummy. Like I'm an idiot. Yeah, I was yeah, but it was funny because like it was one of the things I like loved about like having spent so much time with Matt and hanging out is like the progression of like him as far as like how he like interacted, because y'all all remember Matt like in high school and like early 20s, like Matt was cool, like that was Killah Matt, like spoke real soft, like real, not like loud, like not like big gestures, like very like, he was very mellow. Like you would have thought he smoked weed because he was so chill. And then over time, slowly but surely, he started getting like way more animated, and like, he would like talk real loud. And I was like thinking about it, like one of the last times we had hung out, and I was like, dang, dude, I was like, you have changed. Like it, like, I love it. Like, it's great. I was like, man, because you used to be so like calm and soft spoken and mellow. And now you're just like all out there, and I love it. It's great. And he was just like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just did. And, I think that him as an individual, like just his growth was so awesome to see. Just like, because Matt, like, from what he says, him and his family basically built half the damn churches in San Diego.
Yeah, I know, huh?
You know what I mean? Like, but I remember we were talking. It was when he had first gotten the job with the city. And I was just like, so like, what's the game plan? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do with this? And he was like, oh man, he's like, I figure I'll do 20 years with the city, work my way up, make those connections. And then he's like, I'm gonna retire. But when I retire, I'm gonna start my own contracting, like my own construction company. Like, and he's like, and since I'll have all those connections with the city, I'll get this, I'll get the city contracts. And then, and then basically he's like, by the time I'm 45, I'm tired, like done. And I was like, damn, dude. I was like, that is really like, I was like, that's so cool. Like, just that, like, he had like already kind of formulated like all this stuff and, what he was going to do and how it was going to work out. And I was like, dang, man, like, I wish I could like think like that, you know what I mean? And like actually like start, like implement it like he did. Cause he was working for the city, and he was like it was fun talking to him. Sometimes it was like Parks and Rec, when they'll say someone's name, they'll be like, you don't know who Jolene Harris is from the city bureau of da 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 da. Well, and he would like tell me all these people, and I'm like, Matt, I don't know these people, dude. Like, I don't know. And he's like, no, see, you understand, like this person, like this is what, and I'm like, okay, but like, I don't. But he would just always be like, oh man, you got, and I would be like, Matt, I don't know these people. Like,
no, man, Matt knew so many people. Dude. It's kind of crazy the amount of people he knew. You know what I mean? And just the diversity of people he knew for sure.
Well, because Matt talked to everyone and was like, you know what I mean? He'd make friends, and like, I remember I used to be like, I mean, the Matt phone calls, the
hour longs,
and you gotta
make sure your schedule is free.
Yeah, you gotta look and be like, all right, I guess I ain't got shit to do for the next hour or two. And he would always tell me like, oh man, I just talked to like so and so the other day, like someone super random, like from high school, or someone we met at like Grossmont,
or like Miss Berg for 6 hours.
Yeah. Super random. And you're like, and I'd be like, why?
That was
like,
a very random, I was like, what the hell? And not even like at a random, like
at like 1 a.m.
Yeah, not even during the day. It was just very.
But like, that's what he would do. He would literally like, and I'd be like, why? Like, why do you even bother? And he was just like, man, he was like, people don't be talking on the phone anymore. And like, I just want to check up on people, like make sure they're doing good. And like, that was the only reason. He was like, I like talking on the phone, and I want to, check up on these people. Like, just because they're not like a part of my life now, they were at one point. And like, I just want to know how they're doing. And I would just be like, damn, that's so cool. I wish I could do. I was like, I wish I could. I'm like, I'll make a phone call and it is just for some quick information and that's it. Like I'll see you. We can talk when I see you in person. Like.
So just to segue off of that, something that Danielle has always talked about, and then she was mentioning with Alex, you have Patty, and Isaac, you have Ashley. Matt has always made an effort to go beyond just like talking to them through us. He's made sure like to be inclusive, to talk to them on their own. And so like Danielle's like, we have a group chat between Matt, Danielle and I. Matt would always come over for Bachelor and Bachelorette, so we'd always talk about all that crap.
Oh God, I remember he would tell me the Bachelor's on today, bro.
Yeah,
every Monday he'd come over.
Watch that?
You damn right. We'd have a glass of wine or a bottle or two of wine, but anyway, so he would always make an effort to like reach out to Danielle and like talk to Danielle about how Danielle's doing. How, and I'm assuming the same thing happened with Patty and Ashley, is he'd make that effort. He knew how important they were in our lives, and because we were important in his lives, they were important in his lives, and he just made that extra effort no matter what, and he always did that.
Yeah, Patty would definitely attest. She had to go get Thiago because he was acting a little fuzzy right now, but Patty would tell me, I didn't even know that he would do that. He sometimes he would even come by my house, because when he was working for the city, he would just stop by to see if I was home or not. And I didn't even know until like actually not too long ago that Patty told me that, oh yeah, Matt would come over to see if you're home, and if you weren't home, he would just like still make conversation with me, see how I'm doing and stuff like that. And it's crazy because she would she would tell me like all these stories about, like, for instance, for her, and right now I don't know if she's gonna come back because Thiago's really he's getting to that little temperament mode. But one thing that I know Patty would like me to say is that one thing that she loved about Matt is he would attend to Thiago, and to the point where Thiago would cry when he would leave. When he would see Uncle Mateo, leave, he'd be crying. He'd be like, and Mateo would kind of come back running back, I'm right here, man, like that. It was, and for Patty, that meant so much to her, for a friend of mine to care so much for my son. You know what I mean? Because it's a different view, because we're so I guess expected from our family to love our kids, that we kind of like, we're like in awe when a friend or a dear friend of ours shows so much love and affection to us as well, or to our kids and whatnot, and even to our partners too, for caring to see if they're doing good, if we're treating them okay, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he would definitely make sure of that as well, seeing everything is in order. With right now I want to actually go on to Luis. I know, Luis, you've been holding back for a little bit. I have had you a little in the background, but how you been, man? I know you're coming from up north. I know it's been tough also as well for you, since you don't have so much of the SCPA support group up there. How you been, man?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. Sorry we're in a little late. I've been doing great. I've been doing pretty good over here. I definitely miss all you guys. This is awesome. This is awesome to see. I wish that I had spent some more time with Matt, because when I was younger, I was a little shit. I was a little turd, getting in trouble and whatnot. And I lived fast, and getting a little older, I slowed right down. And man, Matt just, he'd call me out of nowhere, man. I mean, like, we didn't hang out as much as everyone else did. Like, we were always cool with each other, but we really didn't talk a whole lot throughout the years. And then I moved up here, and that's when I kind of started to slow down and get my stuff together, and talk to him here and there, mostly on Xbox. We played a lot of Call of Duty together. always bought him back. As you know, the Gulag Gang.
Funny story to those stories. Matt would always say he got 3 kills, but he really got one.
Yeah, he got 3 kills, but I set him up for 2 of them. Okay, but I'll never deny that one. But you know, after moving up here and slowing down a little bit, you know, kind of figuring out like what do I want to do with these opportunities I have up here? So, you know, I'd get into like a lot of the whole, I guess, free state stuff, right? Like I bought some guns and I went out and freaking went off road and just stuff to do up here that isn't possible or as common in Southern California. And so I'd post about these things and Matt would hit me up about them. He'd ask me some questions. He was very curious about guns and stuff. And I have to always feed my brain information. Like I obsess about like one main thing at a time. So like, I mean, shoot, man, I got the freaking boom mic and this headset and I stream and stuff because I got obsessed with computers. That's my latest thing. But before that, it was guns. You know, I built my own and whatnot. And Matt would call me and he'd ask me about it. And then he'd call me and we'd talk about life, some life stuff. And I always looked up to him in that way because I always felt like I wanted to reach out to my friends and ask them just like, how are you? Like, what's going on with you? Like, what do you want to share? And he would just do that. Like he would just, whereas I'm like, oh, I don't want to be intrusive. I don't want to bother nobody. You know, I overthink it. That's a me thing. But he inspired me to just take that step and asking someone how they're doing. Like for real, like what's going on? You want to talk about it? You want to be distracted from it? Like that sort of stuff. I always think of Matt, especially recently. And I mean, especially recently, but even yesterday I went on a nice little trip with a couple buddies from up here and, you know, stopped on the river and just looked around and checked everything out. And I was like, man, you know, I'm going to miss this. And then dudes, hey, listen, I don't say this, but I appreciate you guys. And this is great. And I'm glad we're out here. I'm glad we're having a good time. And all that I relate that with Matt and how he's inspired me to do that type of stuff. And I'm going to miss that, you know, but we've all got a piece of him in us and I'm going to keep that going and not overthink it.
Yeah.
And, you know, miss that guy.
Yeah.
And
he was big on guns too. He was really big on guns.
Oh yeah.
He knew his history for sure. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I didn't even, Matt, do you even have a gun? I'm like, yeah, bro.
That's with World War II.
Dude, and I knew the podcast was tonight. And you know, I'm like, oh, I get to show off my little mic and my little headset. I got my little camera and whatnot. And I had so much to say about him. And then now that I'm here, it's like I'm drawing a blank. So I can only think of the most recent stuff. But you know, one of the memories I have with him, I mean, when he first started calling me randomly, yeah, I had no idea it was like a 2-hour thing. But I had no idea. So we started.
That's how it gets you.
Yeah, one of my previous like interests that I was into a lot was cigars, and this guy smoked cigars. And I got at the high school reunion, I remember for a little bit we were talking about, hey, let's go smoke a cigar over here. He was so for it, man. He was so for it. I think you guys remember. And I was excited about it. Well,
all I remember of Matt that day was Flex Town, baby. He had a tight ass shirt.
I know, dude. I thought my sleeves were tight. I was wrong. But I was talking to this guy on the phone, and I ended up talking to him about just cigars for over an hour. And I got some good information from him, and I bought a couple cigars based on his suggestion. And then I think I even called him later on, like, dude, hey, you were right. These are good. I do like these. And had a little whiskey, had a little cigar with him, and that was that. And then it was a little sporadic. You know, we'd play a little Call of Duty. We would not talk to each other for a while. And then next thing you know, he's got an idea. He calls me, and I'm so glad to be able to answer the phone. It's nice.
Yeah, man. That's great, man. And he was definitely a person that, man, when you see that phone call, and that's one thing I'm gonna miss about that phone call, Killah, because on my phone I have him as Killah. I never switched the names. Even even my Patty, she just switched her name not too long ago to my queen. But even her, I had her as just El Pati, La Pati, or whatever.
Right.
And she was like, "Why do you have me as that?" And I was like, that's all I needed. And it's and thinking of when I used to get those calls from Matt, because we all knew him as that Killah back in the day, and it's just like, you right when you see that the K, or when I saw the K right at the beginning, I'm like, all right, let me get some time. Let me set some time about, because he's about to share some stories, right?
Yeah. Oh, and don't even try, and don't try and rush him off the phone, because he'll be, oh, dude,
he knows. He knows.
But it's literally, I'd be like, okay, Matt, I'm literally walking into work, I have to go. He'd be like, all right, for sure. And I'd be like, I gotta go. And then I'd hang up, and then he'd be like, nigga, why are you hanging up on me? I'm like, I just told you, I gotta go to work.
Oh man. I guess it's kind of leaves off to me, right? And since we are getting close to the end of the night, some of this, I don't know if, pretty sure all you guys know about my story of meeting Matt. But to the listeners, of course, it's already been mentioned in one of the podcasts. And Matt used to kind of I think he got annoyed after a while of me sharing the story. But the reason why I share the story is because I met Matt at sixth grade, sixth grade camp. And we were in the same cabin. And at that time, I was a lot chubbier. I've always been a chubby kid. And going into sixth grade was kind of scary for me, and stuff like that. And it was scary because, as a chubby kid, you're so many insecurities and stuff like that, and getting picked on and whatnot. My bunk bed partner was Matt, for sure. And I was always like, oh man, I hope, I want to get the bottom bunk, because I don't want to be scare him that I'm gonna go down or anything like that. And anyways, I asked him, I was like, hey dude, do you want me to get the bottom bunk or the top bunk? He's like, no, bro, I want the bottom bunk. Like, you sure you want the bottom bunk? He's like, yeah, bro, I want the bottom bunk. Are you sure? And he was like, yeah. All right then. So I went up, and he told me the next morning, it's so funny. He was like, bro, that shit fucking scared me, bro. Actually, he didn't tell me the next morning. He told me at the end of the Friday. Chauncey was actually in the same den. I remember. And Matt was like, bro, this whole week you had me fucking scared, bro. That shit sunk, because these spring beds were they were just spring beds. So you would see them just, you know what I mean? So my chubby ass on top of Matt thought I was gonna land on top of him, stepbrother style, you know what I mean? And just plaster it. And it was so funny, but he never said anything to me, which was so cool. And I'm glad that he didn't, because I was scared. It was those scary moments that we all went to SCP at a sixth grade, 6 to 12, that we're like, what the fuck, that you guys are throwing us into the wolves kind of thing, you know what I mean? And it was Matt, ever since then we grew that bond. And throughout high school years, of course, I hung out with the Mexicans, of course, and we didn't really get more interaction together until senior year of high school, right? When we started going to parties, he started inviting us out to the famous old apartment.
On Texas.
Texas Street. And we would just play beer pong there all the time. And, from there on, I met so many people through Matt. And for a while, he was a hero to me. He was always a sort of a hero to me. And I would always look up to Matt, what's going on, dude? Because, we would kind of tell each other parties, and then we, try to not up each other, but but try to let's try to hype up, let's rage, that was his thing, let's rage kind of thing. And I love that about Matt. The last few years, And by the way, Melody, I'm so sorry. You're gonna be the last person. I totally forgot you. I totally forgot that I didn't have you. I forgot for some reason. I thought I had you on, but you're gonna be the last person for sure. And anyways, the last few years, me and Matt, like even though we were close, even throughout after high school, it was different because me and Matt started connecting in different ways personally, in the sense of our fathers, right? My dad got sick with kidney disease, went through dialysis and whatnot. And of course, Matt's father as well was very sick, to the point where he couldn't move. Matt had to take care of him. And, and we would always talk to each other about this type of stuff, because when you're taking care of a parent to that point, it's draining. Energy is draining, even though we don't say it to others because we don't want others to get worried and whatnot. And that's why I think me and Matt really connected on that point, because we were going through similar stuff, right? And when my dad passed, I really thought about Matt a lot, because he was going through a similar struggle. And and I knew I had to step up my game, because it was so hard for me just for those 2 years of taking care of my pops, and knowing that Matt had to take a little bit longer to take care of his pops. I don't care what anybody says, it is emotionally draining to take care, and I was, trying to find different ways to connect with Matt, try to, have him up. And of course, Matt wouldn't say we'd be little gray areas and stuff like that. But I think when I started the podcast, I needed someone, I needed a partner for sure. And Matt was always my number one to go to on talking, right? Like, and that's why I brought him in, because I knew he was he was in a difficult spot. He needed an outlet, especially during the pandemic where everybody was just closed in, no one really getting to see each other, So I reached out to Matt when I was starting West Coast Initiative, and I brought up the idea. He loved the idea of the podcast already, and I brought it to him one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, I really need a co-host, and I would love for you to be my co-host, because first of all, you know how to talk to people. You're my best friend. Your vibe is, unlike any other level, and you can honestly carry on a conversation. You know what I mean? And I like to believe that, it really helped Matt to connect with all these people. Even with you, Melody, when we had our interview with you, he loved it. Like it was just like one of those times that it's cool that we have that recorded memory of us, right? Because now we're always going to cherish that. Like, wow, I did a podcast with Killah Matt at one point, and we're always going to cherish that. And like I said, I've been listening to these podcasts like day in, day out, with Matt, and it's been an honor to have Matt as one of my, not a best friend, but as a brother, especially these last 2 years. He was my rock when my dad passed, during my dad's sickness and stuff like that. I was his rock too during that time. One thing before, leave off, that I think it's very important that not a lot of people really tend to take notice is the mental health issues, right? We all have, of course, my dad had different physical, physical features and whatnot, and difficulties and stuff like that. But when I've noticed when they're going through a problem, it's the depression that starts kicking in and starts, because I saw, of course, similar patterns and whatnot. And the depression, if anybody out there listening who's suffering from depression or anything like that, please reach out to your loved ones, friends, anybody, even us here in the West Coast Initiative, anybody here, Amir, Pepe, Luis, Melody, anyone here, because it's life is a struggle. Life is definitely a struggle. It doesn't get easier, even though we're all in that road to 30s, some of us are already in those, right? It doesn't get easier. It doesn't. Life gets harder, and we just got to keep rolling with the punches. But as long as we have, a good camp behind us, and meaning a good friendship, a good bond to actually listen to each other and whatnot. And if you feel that your friend or a loved one is having hard times, really, really listen to them, really be there for them, you know, because it's tough times for everybody, especially in these few years, these last couple of years, COVID times and whatnot, people leaving us left and right, especially we're at that age, you know, where we're starting to see a little bit more losses in our life. This is the time to more connect with each other, to be with each other and whatnot. And I'm proud to have all you guys on here. It's an honor to have all you guys on here. I know there's people out who are listening who would love to be on here, and I apologize for not having you guys on here. You know, of course, it's a lot of messages. We're already almost at that 2-hour mark, and I appreciate all of you guys for being here and sharing these stories, because for Matt's celebration, what other best thing than to connect again? That's what he would have wanted anyways, right? To connect everybody again. And you know, he'd probably, if he was here, he'd probably take over the show right now and be like, telling, remember that time, remember this time, remember that time. And you know, and it's cool and that's the reason why I wanted to share these stories, because he would have wanted to talk about these stories. You know, he would have wanted to be like, oh yeah, that shit is tight, you know. And yeah, and so that's my gig of Matt. I love you, Matt. I know you're listening up there. I know you're always with us. One thing I said when my dad had passed away at the service is this song. I don't know if some of you guys remember. There was a song I said at the end. It was "You Never Walk Alone." You know, it's a very famous song out there, and I really take it to heart. And every time I listen to it, I think about Matt, and I think about my pops, and I want to relay that to you guys. You know, you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone, you know. And even Matt is still with us, and he won't let us ever walk alone, for sure. So Melody, you're gonna be our last one of the night.
Okay.
So sorry.
I feel really terrible because that was like a beautiful wrap up, and like I'm just gonna keep it short and just like
I feel bad. I feel bad because I've been trying to keep track who I've been going. And I'm like over here, like I'm so sorry. And I was like,
you're totally fine. Totally fine. I mean, everything, you know, I feel like we all have so many similar things to say about the kind of person that Matt was. And I mean, it can't be said enough, don't get me wrong, but he reached out to everyone. And yeah, I mean, we all have been talking about those long phone calls, and I got those long phone calls too. And I will admit, sometimes I was like, Matt, what do you want? You know, like what? But like, I think Matt definitely taught me, like, you know, if your friend has something to say, answer the call. And even if it's just to tell them, hey man, no, now it's not a good time, but like, I love you. I'm going to call you back in a little bit. Like just even that communication, and like, don't not answer, you know? So, and I don't know, Matt was he just always was so interested in our lives. And like earlier, Alex, you said something like, I think it was you that said like, you know, he never wanted to talk about himself. It was always like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it was like, I always had to be like, but enough about me, Matt. Like you keep asking questions about me. What's going on with you? So I can't stress enough, like not only to not answer the call, but also to check in with them and really listen and ask, you know, when your friend is just putting the whole conversation on you and asking all about you, obviously you want to make sure that you know what's going on with them too. And like constantly check in with your friends. And I don't know, Matt just really shed light on the importance of being a good friend, I think. And what's crazy is like, we all have these experiences. Like, I don't know how he found the time to make all these phone calls and like check in with everybody. And it's like, we have to just keep this support system going, because that's what Matt would have wanted. So that's what Matt taught me. And then to also kind of just do like a piggyback sister story on the one that Audrey told earlier with the fires, because there was another time with the fires, and like this one was like the first one, Audrey's dad was there to pick us up, and they were telling us, you know, we don't want you to leave school or whatever, but her dad was there to pick us up. So we kind of had like this out. The other time though was like they were being like real assholes at SCPA. Like it was another situation where the air, like you couldn't breathe, and we were like, we need to leave school. Like our parents all say we can leave, and it's senior year. Like let's just go. And so Shawnee, our friend, she started the car, and Audrey and I had ditched out the front gate to just leave like as soon as possible. But then all the staff was like catching on, like close the front gate because they're like leaving. Kids are leaving. So they closed the front gate. We were talking to Matt. Matt was supposed to leave with us. And so we're like, Matt, like, hurry, they're closing the gates. Like, you need to get out now. You need to get out now. And all of a sudden, like, to the front gate, and we're driving the car. I see him running to the gate from the front gate to like the side gate by the feeder. That one was still open. And Shawnee's car, we're like idling, like going like a few miles, like 2 miles per hour. And Matt, they're about to close the other door. Matt runs all the way down, just like gets through the door before they close it, like super ditches. And we're like, come on, Matt, hurry up. Like the car is running, but the door is open. And he just Superman dives into the car, and we just like skirt out of there and like, let's go, like go. So I don't know. Matt was just that, you know, he was just down. And he was going to find a way. So it was like, we're like, oh shit, like we got to leave Matt behind. Like if he doesn't hurry up, like we're ditching, like we got to go. And he just like literally Superman jumped into the car, and it's just, I don't know. I'll never forget that because, you know, Matt could be he was so funny. He was so silly, such a character. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was it you who posted that photo, or was it Audrey who posted that photo of you guys climbing up the fence?
That was me.
That was you? What was that
Yeah.
story about? What were you guys doing there?
That was a Halloween, and we were carving a pumpkin, and our whole goal was to carve a pumpkin and put it on top of the bars at SCPA. So it was me, Raul, Donnie, him, and Al. You remember Al?
Oh yeah.
Like grade older than us.
Yeah.
And yeah, we like all like got a little, we only had one pumpkin between like the five of us. And so we kept like passing the pumpkin around, get your own, like carve your own thing. And then we like put the pumpkin up there, and it literally stayed there till it like rotted off. So yeah. But Matt was the guy, he just always kept his composure. He always kept his cool, and he was just the best of us. The conversations, you know, like just so interested in our lives, and always just calling to tell you he loved you, and call me to remind me that, you know, to love myself, and always interested like in what I was doing and who I was with, and like, oh, you're dating Angelo, like tell Angelo I said what's up, and like, you know, just not only interested in like me, but like how you guys said earlier, like with your spouses and girlfriends and significant others. That's how he was too. He reached out to everybody to make sure everyone was included. And yeah, I can't say enough about how much I love Matt. So
thank you so much.
I'll leave it on that.
It's tough times, right? I mean,
yeah,
man, I don't even know how to end this one, because it's crazy to even think about ending this episode, right? This, you know,
Yeah.
the shit
Before
that
you end it, I just have a favor to ask everybody. It sounds like Matt was continuously reaching out to other people and pushing things off because he was so selfless. But I feel like this is reminding me to give yourself a chance to ask yourself truly how you are and be real with yourself and open up. I feel like constantly Matt knew how loved he was. We all told him it back. And he shared a lot with other people, but there's also a barrier of things that he didn't get to share fully. So I just ask that of you, share yourself fully and authentically, because you are all so loved. And I think Alex said this earlier, reach out. So please do lean on other people.
Yeah.
Matt was the one who started normalizing all of us, like, at least like for the guys, like telling each other like, hey, like, I love you, you know, I love you, man. Like, you know, I mean, the guy, we're the boys, like we've always kind of just been, you know, like,
that's funny, because I used to think that was weird at first. I was like, all right, bro, I love you too, man.
Yeah, but like he was the one that like normalized it and, you know, made it like
a thing, because now like even if it wasn't Matt, like even like when any of us would talk to each other, we'd always be like, all right, man, like I'll catch you later, love you, dude. And he normalized that for us, which I think is super awesome.
Maybe a little bit too much, because now Isaac be kissing me each time we be
Hey, he told me he only kissed me. What the hell?
Oh my god. Yeah, that's like, I love you, brother. Now.
Hey, Matt wasn't kissing anybody. That's just Isaac being Isaac, all right?
Podcast, right?
If anything, Matt definitely taught us that we need to reach out to everyone more, and even one out between us, feel like everyone watching us.
Yeah.
I mean, those homies that are your heart, your rock, they need that too. You gotta reach out. Yeah, you gotta reach out to everybody, and just talk to everybody. Talk to all your friends, check in on everybody, make sure everyone's doing good.
And speaking of that, I'm glad that Melody and Audrey, I really appreciate you guys like have been reaching out even to me, and because I know I hadn't been so close in years and stuff like that, because life has definitely taken different courses and whatnot. But honestly, it feels good to have you guys even in here. You know what I mean? And it really does feel like we're even closer to you guys even more. Absolutely. And I love you guys, as much as I love everybody here. And Pepe, don't be missing out too much, bro. Lay off on the drugs a little bit.
We're here if you need us.
And this is a cool way to end it, of course, with a smile and a laughter. Anything else you guys wanna say? Last minute thing.
Love you, Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Love you, guys.
Love you, Matt.
Love you,
Matt.
Matt, you want to get through COVID and
love
all
you.
things. Love you.
One of the best people I've met.
That Harvard sweater.
Oh, I actually will say one thing real quick. When I got back from Mexico and had COVID in November, Matt,
he took care of you.
He would come by, luckily I was asymptomatic, but Sean and Fish had dipped out, and so I had, I was at the apartment by myself, and Matt would hit me up and be like, hey man, you need me to bring you anything? And I'd be like, actually, can you bring me some Puff Bars? And keep I got COVID and I'm over here asking for
I need some munchies.
Yeah, but he would come by.
He was that homie.
And then
he was that homie.
I'd open the door and we'd, masked up, and we'd be far apart, and then we'd just sit there and chit chat. But I was just damn, Matt and my mom, if one of them always came by at least every other day just to check up on, make sure I wasn't dead.
He was definitely that one who's if you need anything, he's I might not watch your dog or anything like that, but you need me to bring you some food. When my son was born, or Starbucks or anything, he's you need anything. I'm he definitely brought me my caramel macchiato. But
yeah, I was planning on helping I'll call him my father-in-law, install some solar panels last weekend. And he's we may need 2 other people. And Matt was I was I'm going to hit up Matt, Matt will come through. We'll get him some food. We'll get him whatever he needs. And I'll spend the day with Matt, and he'll
yeah, bro, you're making them sound like you picking them out at Home Depot, bro.
I said he'll come through. Not hire his ass.
Matt always comes through.
A 6-pack, some food is good.
Matt showed up at my parents' house to help install their microwave, and I'm oh, thanks, man. Really, I know that they really appreciate that. He's yeah. Also, I ate all the leftovers that they had saved for you, and I was you motherfucker. And he was just hey, sorry, bro. I was whatever.
Hey, but he would be clutch as fuck. He takes the taco job. He was nigga, what you getting? I'm getting a burrito.
One time he helped my dog bit the crown molding around the door. So I Matt, and I'm hey, can you help me fix it? And he's man, you don't know how to fix it, man. You Mexican. I'm yeah, I might look like the Home Depot Mexicans, but I can't do Home Depot stuff.
It's so funny. A little quick one too. So is it I remember I was saying the TV show. I think it was Kitchen Nightmares. I was saying it Nightmare Kitchen. I said it reverse, and no one was like understood me, right? And Matt was like, "You mean Kitchen Nightmares, bro?" It's probably that Telemundo shit that you been watching.
Last time I saw Matt was actually with Josh, and I just put in their group message like, "Hey, anybody have a truck or what's going on?" He like texted me separately. He was like, "Hey, I know Josh is helping you, but I'm helping you too." And he just up and he moved everything. He's like, "You don't have to touch anything." I was like, "I'm going to." He's like, "No, I don't want you to." He's just so selfless.
Yeah, I remember one time he fixed me and Ashley's garbage disposal at our house. It was like 7 years ago or something, but he took, instead of just like screwing it, he took the entire garbage disposal off, and he's like laying underneath it, and it's too heavy, and like he can't figure out like how to get it back on, and just dripping all over him. He's like, I got it, like still finished it. So
oh, this nasty ass glue shit on.
Back when Matt was my size.
Yeah, exactly. When you could still fit under the sink.
He had
to
that,
wipe his
like,
ass.
he had that old school chivalry. Like he would never let me walk alone at night. Like he would give me, your jacket. He would take like the outside of the sidewalk, like close to the street, like that, those little details. And it's like, damn, like you're just a good man. Like,
Does anyone else know those railroad nails that he found?
Oh, the railroad spikes.
Yeah, I wonder if those were really important to him. Those things he carried, like that and that hammer. He carried that hammer around that he found. And it was like something about it. It was like old school or something, and he found it and he kept it in his car forever. I remember he'd bring it in to like show and tell to every party. Like I'd be like, Matt, it's not cool. Like leave it in the car.
Yeah, he'd be bringing some historic ass shit to parties and be like, look, bro, this is like 1946, bro. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, bro, this is an iPhone.
Matt was the only one in the group that when I'd go to parties and I'd be sitting there reading my book that wouldn't give me shit for it. He'd be like, man, just let him read his book. Like, damn.
Yeah, he would. You're right. Hey, like I said, guys, thank you guys so much. I know we reached a little bit over the 2-hour mark, but I'm, happy that we did. Thank you guys all for sharing the beautiful stories. For all the listeners, thank you guys all for listening. I know many of you who are listening as well, love Matt, miss Matt dearly, and you guys are also, not alone. You'll never walk alone, like I said earlier. We're all together. SCPA is especially, I've always tried to believe, and I still say to this day, class of 09 of SCPA is the best class because we have stayed the closest to each other throughout the toughest times, throughout pandemic, throughout recessions, whatever. We stayed together in some sort of way in communication, and I love it. And we're going to continue going in our 30s and our 40s and our 50s.
Welcome to New York, guys.
Yeah.
Chauncey.
Hell yeah. Hey, I've already been in New York a few times, bro. It's time for you to come to me.
I said thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
I thought you said you got to come to New York. I was like,
no, I said
like, hold on. I was like, Alex and I have been out there. Like,
and Chauncey and I had a blast in New York.
The two of you.
Yeah.
The three of you.
And anybody going to New York, you guys got to definitely hit up Chauncey, because Chauncey's for sure, he knows the spots in New York. Definitely knows his spots.
Rick's out there too.
Oh yeah, Rick's out there. Jordan.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I gotta tell one more.
All right, one more story before we leave.
So when Matt went out to New York, Chauncey, I think you were with him. So this motherfucker goes to the bar, right? And the radiator or like the water heater like breaks in the bar.
All of a sudden, it's
radiator.
crazy.
Yeah, it was like that outdoor party, right?
No, it was in the bar. Like it was in this bar. They're like, so they have to evacuate everyone. And Matt literally is like, I can fix that. So they give him some tools. Matt goes in the bar, fixes it, and basically the rest of the night, like he drank for free like the whole night there. And I was just like, only you could go to a bar in New York and like fix some like broken like water thing. And
this water thing is going for like 25 to 30 minutes. So obviously people are just like leaving in drones because they're like, the night's ruined. Like, what are, going somewhere else. He was determined. I was like, bro, let's just go somewhere else. Like everybody else is leaving. Like, let's just dip set. I think Arturo was with us, and like we're just literally watching him kind of just go through this process. And so I'm thinking it's not going to happen. I'm like, he's going to give up and it's just going to be like, all right, bro, I couldn't do it. Let's go. I can't tell you how long, maybe less than an hour, you know, all of a sudden the steam stops and he's like, oh yeah, you know, and then they're, you know, the bar manager is just like, you know, praising him, like kissing his feet, you know, they're just like, drink whatever you want. At this point, the club is empty. So it's like, well, shoot, I guess we might as well just like sit here and drink for free now. So we spend the rest of the night drinking in this empty club that was a million degrees.
See, that made it seem like it was popping.
No, it was popping until that steam happened. Everybody left. I mean, how long are you going to realistically stay in a club when like it's steaming from freaking water, whatever it was? I don't even know what the crap was.
That's so funny.
Andy, man, Kayla. Hey guys, it's come to that time of the night to close it up. Like I said, thank you guys all for listening out there. If you like, and also as well, if you guys know anybody who's went through some, you know, tough times, mental health issues or anything like that, reach out to us, reach out to your family members. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to express out your feelings. We're all human beings at the end of the day. You know, we're not Superman or Superwoman. We're all human beings. We all got feelings. And I love you guys all. Love all my SPA family. And thank you guys all for coming.
All right. Love you, Alex. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Love all you guys.
All for Matt. All for Matt, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Matt.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Pick. I got Screwball and I got this is a banana whiskey.
Screwball. Ooh,
Yeah,
actually banana.
Matt would go Screwball. 100%.
This shit ain't easy to get up here, I'll tell you that.
It's got the blue label which has red label inside of it.
I only got Hornitos right now.
And since it's all friends right now.
Wait, Ashley's not back yet. Oh, there she is.
I wasn't gonna say one, but I'm the only one.
I know.
Ashley,
a little bit.
the whole
Ashley
time
is
we
our
were doing the
fucking green
podcast,
screen.
Ashley, the whole time we were doing the podcast, I really thought that was your background until you started
I did
moving a lot
too.
more.
It is, y'all. I'm bougie AF.
I love you. That's a lot of.
For Budapest, Matt and I have plans, not official ones, but to go travel. So.
That's a fishtail palm behind your left shoulder, and then you got a ZZ plant up by your head there.
They're all just green to me.
Got my shot ready, guys.
I got my shot ready.
And also to anyone that needs help with any home shit or anything, there's like 5 construction workers here.
I got a quick correction, by the way. It bothered me, and I didn't want to say shit, but Josh, that is not a solar panel. It's a photovoltaic module, okay? And how dare you not call me? I'm the solar man.
Oh, you're muted.
Muted.
Josh.
Engineer's muted.
You live in Seattle, and I was installing solar panels is what he needed. He has the panels. He already has the system set up.
This is a photovoltaic module. We'll talk more about this later. Okay.
Sounds like bullshit. No one called me.
Who's toasting?
Well, I ended up canceling.
Ready?
All right, guys.
To Matt, love you guys.
Love you guys.
Wow, love you.
Love you.
Melody, I'm assuming that's your mom?
That's my mom.
Hi, mom. All right, guys.
Mama.
All right, guys. Good night.
All right, guys. I'm in the meeting now. I gotta go to my son.
See ya.
Go get him.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Danielle.
I can't hear anything.
Danielle says bye.